there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. I had purchased a couple of kind of larger stamps a little while ago that I've used in plenty of videos. This one is called the 5 Daisies, and I wanted to work with these today to find another way that we can use them. If you've seen some of the videos on my channel, you'll know that once I buy a stamp set, I really like to get value for money. So today I'm going to stamp the whole stamp set out using some VersaFine Onyx black ink. First of all, because I'm going to heat emboss it, I do want to add my little anti-static powder pouch. And the purpose of using this first up is to stop any embossing powder sticking anywhere that it shouldn't stick, because once we end up colouring this, if there is any stray pieces of embossing powder, they are going to show up really well. Now, when you are going to emboss something, you either need to have a slow drying ink, for example like a pigment ink, or use a sticky embossing ink such as Versamark. Now today I went for a pigment ink, which is the VersaFine Onyx black ink, and I have heat embossed that with some clear embossing powder. This way it'll help me when I'm doing my watercoloring. It will also give me a little bit of a shine, and it will also create a really small barrier in between all of my colouring so that the colours won't bleed together quite so much. So I've used my heat tool to melt all of that, and you can see a nice little shine there, just enough for our card today. You can see that I also popped my stamp off centre, so just to give me a little bit of a guide, although I will be blending the colours, I'm going to pop down some low tack tape. This is the mint tape, and this is just a guide for me to kind of roughly make sure that I get all of my colours even-ish on this panel. So my inks today that I'm going to use are the Simon Hurley Creates inks, and I just used roughly a rainbow, and then I'm also going to use the Limoncello from Catherine Pooler just because I don't have the yellow ink from Simon Hurley. So this is how I store my finger daubers for my Simon Hurley ink. So this is a really easy way to do it for me. I labeled every coloured ink, and there is a single finger dauber for each colour. There aren't too many colours in the Simon Hurley ink line. I think there are perhaps around 24 or so, and I think I only have around half of that or a little bit less, so it works well. But in those little round containers, which often go on special, there are 30 finger daubers in there, so that would be really good for just one ink line if you could kind of designate one, and I'm thinking about doing that for my oxides too. I'll see how I go. Although for my oxides in general, I have kind of a light and a dark finger dauber designated to just the whole range of one colour. So there's a light green and a dark green, and a light blue and a dark blue, and that has been working well so far. Now, as for the inspiration for today, there is a picture book. I was reading to my daughter last night, reading her to sleep, and there's a really cool picture book, and in it has a page that is exactly like this. The whole page is kind of divided up into a rainbow, and I thought that would be pretty cool on a card, so this is where I am going with it today. First of all, I'm going to go in with my finger daubers and create a really light wash over all of the flowers and leaves. I am going to extend it a little bit further than the flowers as well and fade it off into white, so there won't be a colour all over the page at all. But you can see that I'm kind of getting rid of some of the ink off the side on my scrap paper because I don't want this to be too strong. I really do want this to be the light version because I'm going to go over it again here. Now this is more like watercoloring, and all I'm doing is using a water brush, and you saw that I put my ink pads onto the acrylic block that I have just sitting off to the side there. And then I am just going over the images. So the background will still stay nice and light where I use the finger daubers. And where I am going to use the ink from the ink pads and a water brush, it will kind of be a little bit darker. So that is my hope here. Now, when I used the anti-static powder pouch at the beginning here, if I had not done that, then I would have had little stray pieces of clear embossing powder which would have trapped the white colour of the paper underneath it. And when I'm doing this extra colouring here and kind of using these slightly more bold colours, I would have run into trouble because it would have shown through that white that was trapped underneath the clear embossing. So that's why it's really important to use some sort of anti-static measure to stop that happening when you are crafting. But anyway, I am just going through here, and you can see there's nothing precious about the watercoloring. I am just kind of getting the color on. I add a little bit closer to the center of the flowers and then wash it out a little bit more into the outer leaves and the outer petals. But honestly, nothing special at all. Now, hopefully you are able to have a look through your stash and find a kind of bigger stamp set that would work for this as well. However, if you don't, using just smaller stamp sets and either masking them off so that they are one behind the other, or even just creating kind of a background and stamping lots of stamps onto a background and then using the same technique of the rainbow would be really fun as well. So whatever you have in your stash, you can make it work. I am going to go with a really simple sentiment here that says "You're the best," using the All the Little Things Letterette stamp set, which you guys have seen me use millions of times at this point, but I promise it is such a good stamp set. It's one of those ones that you can just kind of find all the sentiments that you need, and being able to kind of put different words together is really what I look for in sentiments. I want to be able to change it up and use it in lots of different ways. So here I have just stamped out the words. I cut them out with some scissors, and then I'm popping them onto some black cardstock. Now some of the letters are upside down, and that's okay because I'll be cutting them out again too. I am going to trim off just a tiny amount of each side of this panel, just because I want it to kind of stay nice and centered where it was, and it will be going onto a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. So I think that the actual card front measures around 4 by 5 1/4 inches, and I'm adhering that on flat with some liquid glue. This is the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish. That's what's inside my glue bottle, and that's my go-to glue. Then again, I'm just using scissors to cut out these and leave a tiny little black border. My card itself is fairly busy and bright, so I wanted some really simple, bright sentiment to stand out there. So it's going to go in the front and say, "You're the best." I have put a little bit of foam tape on the back of each of these words, again, because this is the only dimension that's really on the card because it's a flat card front. And you could also definitely leave it here. Now there's a couple more things that I'm going to do to zhuzh this up a little bit, and that includes putting on a couple of smaller gems. Now in this box here I have 2 different sizes of gems of each color. There are large ones and smaller ones, and I'm definitely only going to use the smaller ones because I don't want to take away from the center image there that we created. So I'm just finding a couple of colors that match and tipping out 2 or 3 little gems of each one, and I will cover up any little ink splotches or any little mistakes or bits that I think need covering up, and then pop a couple here and there just to match some of those colors. And then the very last thing I'm going to do after that, you could also add some Wink of Stella or something, a glitter sparkle pen to the petals and things, but today I decided to just go with a little bit of glossy accents on the center of the flowers. And I really like, again, how this didn't take away from the flowers, but it did create that gorgeous little dimensional glossy accent in the center of them. Thank you so much for watching my video today. Please hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. That means a lot to me, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, bye!